Mindology, the upgrading of social civilization.
Have you ever felt like we're just missing something? Like the tools we have to understand ourselves and our world just aren't cutting it anymore? Well, today we're diving into a really fascinating new discipline called Mindology, and it makes a bold claim that it holds the key to the next great leap forward for all of human civilization.
Right off the bat, Mindology throws a curveball at us with this core idea. It says, all those things we call psychological issues, anxiety, division, depression, they're not the real disease. Nope, they're just symptoms of something much deeper, an underdeveloped mind. It's a huge shift in thinking, right? It's not about fixing a disorder, it's about nurturing growth.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start with the spiritual dilemma we're all feeling today, then look at why traditional psychology seems to be hitting a wall. After that, we'll get into the heart of Mindology's new perspective, explore its incredible ideas about consciousness, and see its practical path for growth. And finally, we'll tie it all together to see why this could be so important for the future.
So you might be wondering, why now? Why is something like Mindology popping up at this moment in history? Well, the source material argues it's because it was born out of a crisis that, let's be honest, we can all feel. There's this sense that the world is getting way more complicated and our old ways of thinking just can't keep up.
I mean, does any of this sound familiar? We see deep social divisions everywhere we look. There's this constant low-level hum of collective anxiety. So many of us feel just completely drained, mentally exhausted. And for a lot of people, there's this profound loss of meaning. Mindology says these aren't just your personal problems. They are symptoms of a global sickness, one that our current systems just aren't equipped to heal.
And this leads us to a really critical question. If we have psychology, why isn't it solving these problems? Why are our existing tools for understanding the mind falling so short? Well, Mindology points a finger directly at some major limitations in the traditional approach.
Okay, one of the biggest critiques is that modern psychology is fundamentally Western-centric. As you can see here, its theories are built on Western ideas about individualism and what drives people. But here's the thing. When you try to apply those same models to more group-focused, collectivist cultures, they just break. An experiment on motivation that works perfectly in America might totally flop in Japan because the basic assumptions are just wrong. It's like trying to navigate Tokyo with a map of New York City.
And it's not just an external problem. Internally, the field is kind of a mess. You've got all these different schools of thought, they don't talk to each other, what they call cognitive fragmentation. Then, you've got the commercial side, which often sells you quick fixes instead of real solutions. And maybe most important of all, the focus is always on symptoms. It gives you what the source calls a sophisticated evasion. You learn tricks to manage your anxiety, but you never actually get to the root of why it's there in the first place.
All right, so if the old map is failing, what's the new one? This is where Mindology steps in and says, look, we've been diagnosing the problem all wrong. The goal isn't to patch up a broken psychology, it's to help mature the human mind itself.
Wow, let that one sink in for a second. This is such a powerful reframe. Mindology is suggesting that everything from a small fight with your partner to a massive global crisis shares a common root. It's not about good versus evil or sickness versus health. It's about maturity versus immaturity. It completely shifts the focus from blaming others to looking at our own internal development.
So what is this mind, or 心智, that they're talking about? It's not just your brain and it's not just your thoughts. Think of it as the operating system for your reality. It's this dynamic system that includes your self-awareness, your values, and your entire worldview. And according to Mindology, the level of your mind's maturity literally dictates the quality and scope of your entire life.
Okay, now we're going to go deep, like really deep. Because to truly understand the mind, Mindology says we have to go right to the source code of all human experience, consciousness itself.
Now, this is a total game changer, and it flips what most of us learned in science class on its head. Mindology proposes that consciousness arises from these fundamental things called awareness particles. And this leads to an absolutely crucial point. Your brain doesn't create consciousness. Get this, the brain is just the carrier. It's like a TV set. The TV doesn't create the show, it just receives the signal and displays it. The source is something way more fundamental.
And to make this super clear, they use this beautiful ocean analogy. It's actually genius. So think of your individual consciousness, your personality, your day-to-day thoughts. That's just the ripples on the surface of the ocean. Just below that, you have the subconscious, which are like the currents moving things around unseen.
Go deeper and you find source consciousness, these massive, stable ocean currents that connect you to your core. And the water itself, the actual H2O molecules, those are the awareness particles. They're the fundamental stuff that makes up the entire ocean.
Okay, so you might be thinking, this is all fascinating philosophy, but what do I actually do with it? Well, this is where the theory becomes a practical, actionable system. It's where we get to the core of Mindology's educational method, the thought revolution and mind opening.
It really boils down at two key pillars. First, there's the thought revolution. This is like upgrading your mental operating system. It's a systematic training to change how you process the world. Then, once you've done that, comes mind opening. This is about changing what you value by putting a philosophy based on balance, emotional intelligence, and self-mastery into actual practice.
And the difference this makes, it's huge. We're talking about an upgrade from what they call level 1 reflexive thinking. That's that knee-jerk stimulus response reaction that's so easy to manipulate, all the way up to level 4 field-style thinking. This is a completely different way of seeing. It's holistic. You see the hidden connections, the whole dynamic system at play. It's really the difference between being a pawn, just reacting on the board, and being the player who sees the entire game. And this is where it all comes back to that big, bold claim we started with. This isn't just about individual self-help, or you feeling a little bit better. Mindology presents this entire framework as a necessary evolutionary step for our entire civilization. And this final quote just hits it home perfectly. It asks us to totally reconsider what progress even means. What if the true measure of an advanced civilization isn't how much energy it can control or how fast its rockets are? What if the real yardstick is its depth of wisdom, its understanding of consciousness itself? This completely reframes our goals as a species, shifting them from external technology to internal evolution. So we'll leave you with this final, powerful question to think about. Mindology suggests that the limits of what you can perceive and understand, the boundaries of your cognition, are in the end the boundaries of your destiny. So the question it leaves us with is a deeply personal one. Are you ready to expand yours?